Hi, and welcome to another episode of our Local Time Machine Thursday campaign. And today I have the pleasure to talk to Georgios Atopoulos, who is assistant professor on virtual environments, urban modeling, and digital simulations at the Cyprus Institute. And he's here to give us an understanding on his project that works on an interactive visualization of historic Nicosia. Georgios, welcome, and thank you for taking the time.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much.
And I'd say let's dive right in. Tell us, what is the key aim of your project?
Yeah, this is a very interesting question, and of course, allow me to, before I answer the question, to thank you for your interest in our work. It is our pleasure to present the work that we have been developing on the several years now in the network of the time machine. And it's a very interesting question because actually, as this has been the result, what I will be showing you has been the result of several parallel short-term activities. And we have been working on this for several years, as I mentioned. The main aim, I could say, the main aim of our work has changed. So what has started as an aim, a scope for work regarding the development of interactive visualization about the historical transformations of the important monuments of the historic core of Nicosia, has been grown and developed towards multiple various other parallel thrusts of activities that I will be talking about to you today. So initially, the idea was that, and our aim was to develop in parallel with the concept, the curatorial concept of the creation of an exhibition by the Leventis Municipal Museum about the establishment and the evolution of Nicosia as a capital city of Cyprus, which would allow the visitors of the museum and of the city in extent to be introduced to the most important monuments of the city, which of course the city has a very long history of many centuries, but in the core of the historic core of the city, the visitor can visit and can see and can walk around is the transformation, the historical palimpsest and the architecture of the city, starting from Byzantine times, and then moving on to the Frankish period and the monuments that belong to that period, then on to the Venetian period, the Ottoman, and then the city was, as part of the island, was a British colony, so it was annexed to Britain, and most recently, unfortunately, with the division, with the intra-communal conflicts, the division of the country and the city in two halves. So through this platform and in extent of the exhibition, the visitor of the city can be introduced to these transformations that have happened through all these centuries in the historic urban fabric of the city, and is able to revisit and learn more and be introduced not only to the history of the specific monuments, but also to the connections and between them and the locations in the neighborhoods and the areas around them, which, as you might imagine, are very, very relevant because they explain the development and the evolution of the historic fabric.
So your interactive platform revives historic Nicosia, as you said, being located on today's so-called green line of the island, which is the United Nations buffer zone, which is a demilitarized zone. So do you think that bringing the city's historic urban fabric back to life with the help of 3D visualizations might have an effect on a societal or cultural level? And would you even say that your platform might have an educational mission to contribute to sustainable futures of this divided city?
Exactly. This is very precisely how what was our initial motivation behind this activity, to actually offer to not only the visitors of the city, but also to the locals from both halves of the city, a unified experience of how their shared past of the urban fabric was. And since, especially because of the historic core of the city being all listed as a monument, which means that no intentional changes can be introduced or implemented in the fabric. This gives hope to one that in the future, if there is and when there will be a reunification of the two halves of the city, we can still be able to bring back this fragmented experience. So through our platform, we try to stitch together these fragments. And but what I would like to add to that is that it's not only about offering an interactive visualization to the locals and the visitors of how the city used to be, but also, and as I will be describing to you later on, hopefully through some visuals that I would like to show, through our main core activity, which has to do with the management, the curation of data that are interoperable, to develop several parallel and support several parallel activities that can eventually contribute to a more sustainable future development for the city, and to contribute also positively to its social cohesion. And these activities regard, besides the educational component, the educational part, regard also activities that have to do with the monitoring of the city for urban regeneration, the co-creation initiatives for the reactivation of specific areas and neighborhoods in the urban fabric, as well as activities that have to do with communicating the future development of the city from either side, of course, to the citizens, to the inhabitants of the place, but even more importantly, to reuse all this information, these data sets, to promote and communicate actions that have to do with raising awareness about the impact of climate change on built heritage, which is a major challenge and very important topic for our societies today, exactly because of the very strong impacts of climate change that we are experiencing, all these anomalies that we are experiencing in our climate, which of course put a lot of pressure to the materiality of our very sensitive heritage.
Yes, we will dive into a live demo of your platform a little bit later on, but maybe you can first tell us a little bit about the beginnings of your project. For instance, does it have any precursors, or who were your partners from the beginning on, and how did they react to your idea? And also, what was the situation like concerning the data? Was it available digitally, or did you have to digitize and process the material first? Yeah, what was the situation like?
Yeah, as I mentioned, this is actually a 7-year-long process that has led us to all the datasets that we have today, presented in different forms, as I mentioned, and it all started coincidentally, simultaneously in two different parallel activities. One was regarding the visualization of the historic core of the city as a commission that came to our group as a commission by the municipality for the better communication of the plans of the municipality for the future development of specific neighborhoods in the city regarding their at the time business model that they were planning for the reactivation of all the neighborhoods nearby the buffer zone that you mentioned, which were in decline and were left forgotten at the time. And also in parallel, we had started our discussions with the Levantis Municipal Museum and its curators that had started planning the creation of the exhibition that I mentioned on Nicosia, the establishment of Nicosia as a capital of Cyprus. So through this couple of activities, we got the capacity and the resources to initialize this activity. And specifically for those activities, to answer the second part of your question, our collaborators were, of course, the municipality and the municipal museum, but also the Department of Antiquities, the Town Planning and Housing Authority of the government of the Republic of Cyprus, as well as the Nicosia Tourist Board. Whom were one of the few, together with the curators of the museum, who understood the value and the potential of this platform, of this activity for the promotion of the city through smart tourism applications. So to answer the last part of your question, initially it was especially in our interaction with the governmental offices, it was a bit hard to immediately mobilize them and to get them excited about it, because for them this all sounded as a very nice additional product just for presentation purposes. So our aim was actually to convince them that this could become one day an everyday tool for them, for their operations. And we achieved that by not only demonstrating to them examples from the literature, but also by trying to explain through presentations adapted to their needs of how this could answer specific challenges they are facing in their everyday operations. And most importantly, because we had at the time already started developing various prototypes of this platform in our lab here at the Cyprus Institute, we would invite them to experience it firsthand. And this was, of course, what would convince them immediately. And because our focus was and this was the most difficult part in convincing them, to explain to them what would be the value of such a tool in bringing a more holistic understanding of whatever would be the subject of their operations regarding the built environment of the historic city, by providing a stage for dialogue between the different disciplines, where all the various stakeholders of the city could exchange their views and their opinions through their own data sets and through their own use of digital assets that they do in any case in their everyday activities. And finally, regarding the data, it was, of course, the first bunch of data we got from the curators of the museum, who are archaeologists and historians, and the offices of the municipality. But then we had to go out and to coordinate with the Land Survey Department of the Republic of Cyprus to collect cadastral information and GIS data. But also on our own, our team had to go to libraries to collect relevant historical information, and on the field to 3D document the specific buildings that would be reconstructed and represented in the platform.
So how many monuments have you been able to reconstruct virtually and integrate into the platform already?
We have, as I mentioned, and as you will see, we have the whole of the city in 3D together with the digital elevation model, which was built by using the contours that we collected from the land survey department, which were created by LiDAR, so it is as accurate as possible, and we're talking about contours every 5 meters of the terrain. But specifically, we have all 33 important monuments of the historic core, as we were guided and advised by the experts, the historians, and of course we're talking about both sides. These monuments are scattered around the centrally located part of the city, but also we have the medieval walls documented and reconstructed, the moat, as well as some of the neighborhoods and the districts around the city. And these monuments, of course, span a period of almost 1,000 years, starting from Byzantine time, Eleusinian, Venetian, etc. As I mentioned, currently we are in the process of reconstructing the important monuments that were built, that are classified in the period of the British administration.
And is there maybe a distinct monument that you would like to highlight for a certain reason before we go into the live demo?
Yes, of course. And this should be the fortification of the city, the medieval walls with the 3 gates and the moat around it. And the reason for that is because it's one of the few heritage that is recognized by both communities as a heritage of the city. It has been through several transformations, and it was created by the architect of the Venetians, Julius Avornian, by destroying and demolishing all the buildings and the previously existing Frankish walls. And during the Ottoman period, obviously, the city had no enemies, so the walls were not maintained at all, and therefore, when the British arrived, there was a huge effort by the first curator of ancient monuments of Cyprus, George Jeffrey, to reconstruct and build, to convince first, of course, the parliament in Britain to send the monies that would allow him to reconstruct it properly and preserve it. And therefore, this is the most important monument, especially in the context of our discussion about the using all these tools and these visualizations to promote and communicate the importance of the reunification of the city, exactly because the medieval walls are encircling the whole city with its moat, is I believe the most important part of the city. And this is also illustrated both by the importance that the municipality itself is dedicating to the moat and the walls, specifically through the recently delivered Eleftherias Square, the most important and big urban scale intervention in the old city that was designed by Zaha Hadid architects. And it's also it can be also demonstrated by the value that the Department of Antiquities is placing in the moat, because the moat has too many important artifacts of the history of the city. And recently we have been collaborating with them, and this is part also our initial activities that have led to the creation of the time machine. In collaboration with the Department of Antiquities and the municipality, we built a time machine of one of the gates, exactly because at the time they had started excavating the moat in front of the gate.
I think this would be a good point to switch to a live demo, and maybe you can walk us through the app a little bit.
Great, yes, with pleasure. Let me try sharing my screen. Great. So the user of the platform is introduced with the option to experience and explore the Frankish walls of the city, as opposed to the Venetians. And you can see here also not only the location of the walls, which is very important transformation for the city, because as I mentioned, Julius Savonian, in order to build the Venetian walls, had to demolish the Frankish and demolish also the buildings that were outside the walls in order to reuse the material. But also can notice the change of the course of the river, which instead of passing through the city was moved outside of the city. And they can also read and learn about specific information about the walls, and then they can choose one of these 33 monuments that I mentioned to visit it in a closer view, aerial and even closer. And they can also choose from this list of monuments, or they can go closer to the city, which is the most impressive view, of course, to understand exactly the location of these monuments in the contemporary fabric of the city and orient themselves. And this is very important because it is a very good initiation for them to be informed about the history of the city through their visit, in virtual visit through the time machine, and physical visit through the museum, and then go out of the museum and explore physically by walking the city and find again the monuments. As you may have noticed here at the bottom, we have the timeline where the user can actually drag the pointer to understand when each one of the monuments was introduced in the city. And then, of course, they can choose by clicking on the flying dot, and they can visit the monument from close up, where actually they are presented with additional historical information about the monument. You can notice also the difference in size of the letter fonts is for those who don't want to spend too much time and those who want to go a little bit deeper, and of course explore photographic and other materials. The monuments, each one of the monuments has been reconstructed through photogrammetric documentation, so all the materiality is captured. And this was an important factor for us because we wanted to have this opportunity of building this platform as a way to create these data sets that would enable also the experts and would support any preservation activities.
Very impressive indeed. But how do you deal with the complex data structures involved in the production of the platform?
This is a very good point, and this is the focus of our work. And at this point, you will allow me to switch from the platform because I would like to show you what I mentioned earlier about how it all started through the production of a time machine of one of the gates of the city, and this is Pathos Gate, and how we used photographic documentation and historical content to reconstruct the area, the whole neighborhood of Pathos Gate before the 1950s, before the division, but also how it is today. And this was for us the case study that I mentioned that we used to convince all the relevant stakeholders and the authorities, because at the time that we built that, as I mentioned, the Department of Antiquities had started excavating in the moat, as you can see in the photograph on the top of my screen, the moat in front of the gate, and we used this time machine as a platform for co-creation, where we engaged local people, citizens, and visitors and the stakeholders in the co-designing of the management plan for the archaeological site. And this was a very good practice that convinced everybody of the value of such kind of reconstructions. Even though we have many good examples in Nicosia that demonstrate that all the relevant authorities have a clear understanding of the importance and the value of preserving built heritage for the regeneration of the historic fabric. Unfortunately, we are still experiencing loss of important heritage, as you can see, because of neglect and climate change. And this was for us the main reason why we wanted to expand this initial activity of creating a time machine for visualization and educational purposes into something that would be much more operational. And this we are currently working on, and we are developing through several externally funded projects, such as the one that you see on your screen, and that bring together not only experts from research organizations and universities, but also companies, local authorities, and international bodies, to expand this effort from the documentation and the reconstruction of specific monuments into preserving, into better monitoring, preserving the data, and in order to enable better monitoring of whole neighborhoods. And of course, this is a very difficult challenge to achieve, and it can only be happen if one comes up with the relevant, the right workflows and pipelines for the management of the data. And this is what we are trying to build here through this tripartite process that you see on your screen, that combines the development of methodologies and workflows with specific activities and the documents that are supporting these activities, that take us from the collection of historical information to the collection, the data acquisition, the collection of physical 3D information, the data curation that bring everything together into what is called as a heritage BIM model that can link all these various interdisciplinary datasets. In this effort, the most crucial and central part of the process is what you see here on the screen, which is what we are currently developing, which is the process graph that would allow in the future any kind of different data set coming from different discipline and of different concerning different scale to be linked together. And this is the only way that interoperability can be achieved in such a very diverse set of data. And specifically, you can see, as you can see on the screen, this is based on the role, what is called the actor. Okay, the role of the creator of the data can follow the process that would link data that concern the neighborhood scale with data that concern the building, its building phases, historical information with specific building assets and elements that are classified based on their scale. And this is what is also marked by the LODs that you see on the screen. You can see here the whole process where we bring data that are collected from the field with historical data and data of analysis of the materiality of the building, like what is called non-destructive testing, NDT, about the condition of the structure of the building, the creation of families, which actually are parametric data sets that enable the reuse to represent other buildings. And all this very, very rich set of data sets can be handled by the IFC file, follows the IFC file. So we don't stop to the 3D documentation for reconstruction and visualization of buildings and monuments, but we try to devise all the workflows that enable us to bring all these data sets together, not only for conservation analysis, but also for a remote access to all this wealth of information. As you can see with these QR codes, anybody, even you now while we are speaking, if you point your mobile device to each one of these QR codes, you will be able to load the 360 view of the specific building. And we are multiplying this effort in documenting various buildings that are listed in neighborhoods in order to start demonstrating the importance of such a platform that would bring together all this information for monitoring purposes of the pressures through the development, the contemporary development that historic clusters are experiencing. And this is very important, crucial point, as I mentioned, because it is the only way that it can allow us moving from what you see now in the video, which is an interactive visualization done in Unity of the city, into something much more dynamic, that dynamically loads information regarding GIS, but datasets, but also point clouds, as well as specifically about buildings, individual buildings, and doing so at the scale of the neighborhood. And why is this important? Because as you see on the screen, by being able to deal with all these data sets at neighborhood scale, allow us to introduce also information that is the result of analysis of environmental data from remote sensing. And this is highly important if we want to scale and link the impact of climate change with the material challenges of our monuments. As you can see here on the screen, this is a visualization of hotspots in our area in Nicosia, the area that we are studying here. And the red buildings are those under study. So one can clearly understand the proximity of the monument to a heat island effect, which obviously would explain a lot of information that one would discover by studying the structure and the condition of the construction of that building, that monument.
Mm-hmm. Very impressive, and really congratulations on what you've achieved already with this project and on your plans or where you want to go. I wonder what kind of feedback have you received thus far on your app, or have you taken any measures and provisions towards capturing this feedback also?
Yes, definitely. All the stakeholders that I mentioned, in particular the town planning and housing authority, the municipalities, because here we're talking about several municipalities, because it's a metropolitan area, the area that we are covering in the scale of the time machine that we are building, and as well as the Department of Antiquities and the Nicosia Tourism Board, they are extremely supportive of this, and they are participating and they are supporting us, they are helping us, and they are waiting for us to deliver an operational tool to them for their use. Another interesting point is that, of course, wherever we have this platform, the one that I showed you in the beginning, installed, it comes with a feature, with a script that collects data about user behavior and choices and selection a user would do, which monuments they would decide to visit, which parts of the city they would like to see. By the selection of language, obviously, one can understand whether we are talking about tourists or locals, how much time they spend on the platform. So all this data is plotted for us, and we are analyzing it in order to better understand how to proceed in the development, the further development of it.
Okay. Well, I think we've come to the end of our interview. Thank you very much once again for running us through your app. Is there anything else that you would like to say or let our new viewers know about your project?
Thanks for asking this, for giving me the opportunity to say a few more words. Yes, I would like to mention that for us, the next step in the development of this platform regards the integration also of crowdsourced material and the commenting system that would allow us to collect feedback from users that would extend beyond those demographics that we have been already interacting with. And specifically, I'm referring to building owners, professionals that are involved in the preservation of such structures, because for us, where we want to take this is to develop a platform that could support activities that would respond to the future sustainability of the city, as this is specified by the more recent calls and foci of the European Commission, as captured by the Green Deal and the new European Bauhaus, because we clearly see that all these tools and workflows that we are developing and these data sets can contribute to responding to these challenges that are identified through these needs. And in this sense, being able to bring together and provide a platform for dialogue with all the relevant professions that are involved would help us monitor and understand the pressures and the conditions of those important culturally valuable assets that have not been yet declared by the local authorities as monuments and as important heritage, because there are many hundreds, thousands of buildings that are very valuable socially for the image of the neighborhood and for the sustainable operation of the neighborhood, that might not be deemed as important valuable heritage, and therefore their owners could even demolish any day. And we want to convince them that there is a huge value and there will be a huge loss if this happens.
Mm-hmm. It sure will be very exciting to follow the development of your project, and we'll make sure to inform our viewers and our community about your progress. Maybe before we conclude our interview, let me quickly share my screen to show our viewers who are not familiar with our local time machine platform on our website yet, to let them know where they can find your project, and also if they want to get in touch with you, how they can contact you. So you go to timemachine.eu, you hit our menu button, building a time machine, and you go to local time machine projects. You wait until the site has loaded. Slowly but surely, here we go. You can see our interactive map with all the local time machines that we currently have listed. And to find you, simply type in Nicosia, for instance, hit search. You click on the title of the project and you get a detailed view with further information on the project, the contact details. So if there's any feedback or any follow-up questions by our viewers, they can get in touch with you, and also a website they can visit. Okay.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Georgios, thank you very much once again for taking the time. And I'd say let's leave it at that. And thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care. Thank you so much.